Hi, Chris from Divine Key with the latest Divine Key chat. Glad to see you here. Um, Hope you're having a great day. Right now, it's pretty beautiful out, and I had a moment, so I wanted to talk about the topic for today's Divine Key chat is habits. Um, when we talk about spiritual things, often we forget that habits are a part of it. Now, when we talk about habits, habits could be so many things. Um, some people use the word habit, some people use the word ritual instead of habit. But in my view, a habit, a ritual, those are things that you do regularly or that you do in the same way to achieve something that you're working toward. So there's a lot of theories on habits. There's a book called Atomic Habits, which talks about, I forget who wrote it, but Atomic Habits talks about stacking habits. So he talks about, and it is a, you know, New York Times best-selling book, and he talks about taking a habit and then putting uh, another habit on top of it, uh, leading to then creating a new habit. But what I found when I attempted to do that, when I was thinking about it, especially when I was busy with a full time job and young kids, is that I just didn't have enough. I already had too much going on. And stacking the habit was not working because I didn't have any more bandwidth. I had no room for another habit to be created. So, from my point of view, what I suggest is that you look at your habits and decide what habit you don't want, and then a habit that you do want, and then you can do a replacement. So, stop doing the thing you don't like doing and replace it with something you do want to do. So, one of the habits, for example, let's just take as an example that a habit that you want to create is to drink more water. So, and a habit that you don't want is to drink so much soda. So, one of the things that you could do is to every time you reach for soda, replace that with water. And if you do that regularly, over time, it will become natural to reach for the water instead of the soda. And that's how habits are formed. Habits aren't good or bad, they are something that you just do regularly. Habits must be sustainable. So if it's a habit, it means you do it and you continue to do it. It's something that you normally, I mean, you would like to do. Uh, Meditations can be a habit or a ritual. I mean, we all have habits that we might not be thinking about. We might have habits of, we brush our teeth in the morning or we, you know, take a walk for a mile every day. Those are habits that that can happen. Studies have shown that it could take 18 to 60 days to create a habit. Why are habits good? Habits allow you to start mindfully choosing what you would like to do, and then over time, it becomes a part of just what you do. So, although you begin mindfully with it and you've put some thought into it, and it takes some effort to do it, over time, it becomes something that you just do. Habits also are a pretty popular topic of conversation. Um, we all have things that we'd like to change about ourselves, and one way to do that is to create a habit around something we really like to do and put that in there. So, um, it's good to get inspiration, um, and have some motivation behind the habit. And the motivation often works best if it's something that we enjoy. So, again, I like to say, let's try to do habit swapping. Uh, Habit tracking is something that people find helpful. So, especially when you're first beginning, and if you journal, but even if you don't journal, you can find habit tracking charts online that you can download and print for free. Or you can just make a list on a piece of paper. If you overcomplicate it at the front end and require all these things before you can do the habit, then you find you may never actually get to do the habit. So I say start where you're at. Grab a piece of paper, grab something to write with, and write down the date and write down that you did the habit and for how long, or whatever it is that you're tracking about the habit. So could be ounces of water you drank, versus ounces of soda. You keep track of both of those, you can see the habit switching from drinking soda to drinking water. Or if it's walking, how long did you walk in time, set a timer, whatever that is. And then the next day, write down the date and do the same thing and just keep track of it that way. It doesn't matter how you do it, it doesn't have to be pretty and fancy, it just has to be done. So just start. Just start where you are. And it doesn't have to be the beginning of the week or the beginning of the day. Just start where you are and then go forward from there. It's helpful to journal around the habit that you're trying to build because it gets all the chatter out of your head and onto paper, and you can look at it and you can see where maybe things are tripping you up, and you can address those things around the habit that you're trying to combine, or start. It's best if you can kind of make the habit fun in some way. So let's say swapping the habit of drinking soda for drinking water. You could make drinking water more fun by adding a no sugar flavoring. I'm not uh, I don't like, and I'm not, my body doesn't like artificial sweeteners. So those um, packets you can buy, they usually have artificial sweeteners to dump in your water bottle. I personally like to just put a squeeze of lemon in my water bottle, or I actually just, from that point, I learned to really just enjoy the water the way it is. But if you want a little flavoring, add a dash of fruit juice if you want. It doesn't add any real calories and it adds that essence of flavoring. Get some bubbly water. It doesn't have to be soda, but it can be plain water that's bubbly, fizzy water as they call it, or sparkling water. Um, or you could do those no calorie flavored sparkling waters. Start with that and then take that and replace it with plain water. And you can see how you can step your way into a new habit. You have to, one of the key things here is, um, you have to let go. I find this thread goes through a lot of the topics I speak about in the spiritual realm, which is having to let go. You have to be willing to let go of drinking soda to allow room to drink the water. So if you're not willing to let go of that habit, if you're like, no, I like my Diet Coke and I'm going to drink my Diet Coke 2 liters every day, and it's just who I am, it's what I want, then there's no amount of whatever I tell you or talk about or that you try that's going to change that. It has to start with you saying, 2 liters of Diet Coke really isn't the best thing for me. So I would like to let go of some of that and create a new habit around drinking something healthier. And um, like I said, it's not really good or bad. Like some people can drink Diet Coke and it doesn't have an effect on their body. But in general, people want to create habits that are healthy for them. And actually, this is why the topic is on my mind today, is because I've learned I need 2 new hips, but I can't get those hips until I lose weight. So I'm all about creating new habits, starting Actually, I started a couple weeks ago, but starting with replacing certain things that I thought I could not live without. One of those things is my morning coffee. It's kind of a ritual for me. I have a pot of coffee. I sit down with my insulated carafe and my mug, and I stare out the window and I journal and I think about things and I pull tarot cards and I sip on my coffee. And I was making my own homemade creamer so that it was healthier than store bought creamer because I knew what was in it, but it still wasn't really that healthy. It was still really high in calories, really high in fat. But I also don't want to drink black coffee because that feels like it takes away that enjoyment piece for me. Like I enjoy the creaminess of having the creamer in it. So the first step of changing my morning coffee ritual is I replaced my half and half based creamer that I was making homemade, and I made it with just milk, like just plain whole milk, and got my taste buds accustomed to having a lower level of creaminess. And I did that for about a month. And now I've done the next step, which is I've stepped from having a whole milk creamer, just based around creamer, and I've moved to actually a store-bought nut-based creamer. So I have an milk, Whole Foods almond milk creamer that I'm using, and it's not as creamy as the homemade one I had, and it's not as sweet. And obviously, it doesn't have as much fat in it as, a half and half would have. But it takes the edge off the coffee just enough that I'm enjoying it. I was surprised. I just started that this week, so this is a new habit swap I'm doing, taking away the whole milk sweetened creamer that I had and replacing it with a flavored nut milk creamer. And for me, because I'm tracking calories to lose weight, uh, so that I can get my hips replaced, uh, it went from like 210 calories for just the creamer, which is mind blowing when you really think about it. It's a full meal in just the creamer, down to 60 calories for the same amount in a nut based creamer. So in real life, that's what it looks like. I replaced a habit of store-bought creamer, which is full of additives and high in sugar and fat, with a homemade version, which still was high in fat and high in sugar, with a lower fat version of homemade that was still pretty high in sugar, with a nut-based one that is lower in fat and sugar and still getting enjoyment from the coffee. So, also important is the mindset change because my mindset went from I need to have my coffee the way I love it and I'm not giving it up because it's the way I start my day and I want to start my day with something I really, really enjoy, to I want to start my day healthy and I can still have my coffee. So I'm still having my coffee. It's half calf. I make it with half decaf, half regular. And I get the enjoyment of sipping a hot cup of coffee while I do the other part of my morning ritual. And who knows, in the future, it may not be coffee. It may be one of those new hot drinks that have adaptogens in it and are based around mushrooms and other um, bio foods that are good for you. I don't know yet, but at this point, it's still coffee for me. So I'm enjoying my morning coffee in a healthier way, and I've created a new habit. And it took me about a month. So, like, this is not instant, and it is the first time you're like, oh, it's hard. I don't like this. Why am I doing this? And the second time is easier, and then as a week goes by, it becomes a little bit easier. And by the second week, you're thinking, okay, this is not bad. And then eventually it just becomes the way you do it. So, all of that to say, give yourself about a month to fully replace a habit with a new habit and enjoy the process of it. And I hope that this little chat is helpful for you. I don't really want these chats to be like workshops, but they are based around a lot of things that I do teach in workshops. So there is that teaching component in it. Who It's part of who I am. So thank you for joining me with this Divine Key chat for today around habits and habit swapping. Not habit stacking, but habit swapping. Take a look and see, is there a habit that you want to start? Is there a habit that you're interested in creating in your life? And if you feel overwhelmed, especially, see what you can let go of so that you can make room for something new to come in and a new habit to be formed. So I wish you well, and I hope you join me next time for Divine Key Chat, and be well. This is Chris signing off. Bye.